Welcome to Parenting at Home Children. My name is Misty Spinelli. Today I'm going to talk to you about schedules. After 25 years of being home with 6 children, both while running businesses and while working out of my home, I have learned a lot of things about working at home with children or just being at home with children. So whether or not you are having to work while you're home with your children or not, I've got some great ideas that will help your kids from being couch potatoes and going crazy. So first of all, I want to talk to you about the fact that children of all ages need schedules and routines. Preschoolers all the way through high schoolers will be happier and healthier if they have some sort of structure in their day. By giving them a routine to work within, they are able to work and play and be creative. With no structure, they become bored, aimless, lethargic, unhappy, worst of all, whiny. If you're wondering how your child can't manage to get 2.5 hours worth of schoolwork done in a 16-hour day, it is because of the lack of routine. So, how do we establish a routine in our home? First, we start with a plan. You have got to plan the time that they will, first, get out of bed. Never let this be arbitrary more than one day. If you're planning on having to work while you're home, you need to make sure that your kids are getting up early enough so that they are starting their work before you are. This will mean that if you're expected to begin your work at 9, they should start their work at 8:30. I suggest then that you have them get up an hour before that. By the time they get awake and their bed's made and their breakfast eaten and their clothes on and their teeth brushed, that will take an hour. Of course, in order to get up at this certain and early time, they're going to need to have to go to bed at a certain time. So do not kill all of your hard-won bedtime victories that you had while they were going to school during this stay-at-home time. Habits are our most wonderful possession. They are hard to acquire and easy to lose. The habit of getting yourself to go to bed at a decent time is a wonderful lifelong habit to give to your children. So, I've got a video that's about habits. You can watch that if you need to. So, let's make a list of what's going to happen in that first hour of the day. First, think about what their routine was when they were headed out the door to school. Let's keep the routine similar. They need to brush their teeth and be wearing clothes on every given day. We can't live in pajamas for the next 2 months, so we need to get up and have that routine. You might add something. They're not trying to catch the bus. You're not having to rush out the door. Add a small chore to that morning routine. Include the fact that their bed has to be made or that they need to feed the dog. As a homeschool mom, my children actually have a daily chore that must be done before school starts. So our day looks like this. We get up at 7, or they get up at 7. I have to get up much earlier than that. School starts at 8 o'clock, so they have that hour to do their morning tasks, including their responsibility for the household. It might be vacuuming and dusting the entire house. However, you don't do all that on one day. Monday through Friday, you vacuum and dust one room. By the end of the week, the whole house is vacuum and dust. You might be in charge of cleaning the kids' bathroom. So by the end of the week, the kids' bathroom would be cleaned by on Monday doing the toilet, Tuesday doing the sinks, etc. Now, you may not want to add this level of responsibility to your kids, but whatever you choose, make sure it is something they can do every day. Again, the important thing is that there be a routine. At your morning start time, this means those morning chores are done, I'm ready for my day. Have something that starts your and their day together. At my house, we sit down in the living room, we read our Bible, we do a devotion, we have our morning prayers. Takes us about a half an hour. Yours does not have to be that long. It could be short if you wanted it to be. If you had preschoolers, you could just sing a fun song, have it be the same one every morning. You could stand in a little circle and hold hands, and you could pray for your day. You could pray for those around you who might be needing things. The important thing is that they know the day is starting, just like they used to know it was starting when they headed off to school. Next, if they have schoolwork assigned, you've now got a half an hour before you have to go to work to help them get started. You need to go over what they have due, what time they're supposed to be in online classes, everything that's required to get done that day. You need to make sure they know how to use their technology. You need them to know that you know what they're expected to do so that you can hold them accountable. Ask them, is there something that you're confused about? Is there a topic that you think is going to be hard to understand today? Is there a lesson that you're not getting? Spend a few minutes going over that with them. This is your undivided attention for a few minutes at the beginning of the day. It will leave them with a feeling of being loved and secure, and it will stay with them for hours. It will help them stay away because they got your first undivided attention. If you don't do this, they will tend to seek your attention all morning. They will interrupt your business calls and nag you while you're working. So that first half hour of attention goes a long way. It's especially important for preschoolers. A half an hour of undivided attention will usually give you an entire hour of freedom. And I've got a video on things that you can do with preschoolers to keep that going also. So, if your children do not have schoolwork assigned, heaven forbid, you need to find some for them to do. I will do a whole video on resources for this, but there are all kinds of workbooks in every grade and every subject you can order online. You can help them find real books to read. You can find educational games and online services online like crazy. There's plenty of resources out there. But you need to plan all that work out, decide what it is, and have it in your plan. Not be trying to figure out something they can do because they're driving you crazy right in the middle of something important you're trying to do. Planning ahead is what makes this work. All right, so back to the plan. Most of your kids will be done by lunchtime. Maybe not high schoolers, but that's fine. They don't need as much playtime. But irregardless, everyone stop and have lunch at the same time. If your kids have to have a lunch at a particular time because they're doing online classes or something, then you stop your work and join them when they're taking lunch. If you have to do lunch at a particular time, make sure to gather your kids and make them come have lunch with you. Make this a really fun family time. Cook together, sing songs, dance in the living room, go for a walk, be silly. This is my reward for staying focused all morning. All right, focused all morning. What if you have a kid with ADD or ADHD, or just simply they have no self-will and they cannot focus for an entire morning? Your job again, you will need to come and check on them every half hour to 45 minutes. You need to give them accountability. It goes a long way for kids if they know every little bit, mom's checking to see if I got something done. If there are distractions such as phones and electronics, they might need to stay with you. You might even need to install software that shows you what your kids are doing if most of what they have to do is on the computer. There is software that will show you what apps they're launching, what websites they're going to. You will have to do some of that ahead of time. Lay down some rules. Your life has changed totally. You're not used to having to have rules all day long. Your rules usually were just how we got to school in the morning and what we did at night. Now it's got to be all day long. So you've got to decide how much time they can spend doing all these things. How much time is expected to be spent on these educational endeavors? Playing without electronics, being alone in their rooms, being on their phones. How much time should they go outside? Some of these things are things you need to restrict, and some are things that you need to enforce. How much time do you have to spend reading a book? So, another great thing that can happen during this is your children can learn new skills. They do have more time. So they can learn how to draw or paint or take up a hobby of some sort, but they can't just do that by themselves. That's going to take you teaching them, getting them the materials, setting them up, helping them figure out how to get going. But once they are going, They can spend hours in this new pursuit. Motivate them to do it and to finish it. Tell them you'll post it online or hang it up on the refrigerator. Help them get going with these new things. All right, so all of this stuff needs to be planned in a day, when it's going to happen, about how long it happens. Otherwise, no one's going to know what to do next, and so they never do much of anything. And with the ability of most of our kids to evaporate into a phone for hours and hours, that is probably what they will do. So once you have your plan, you need to write it down. It needs to be on a whiteboard or on a poster board. You need to make copies of it. You can make each kid an individual checklist, whatever. Make sure the whole family knows what is expected of all of them. You may need to write down what the punishments and rewards are. And if you don't have those in place, it probably won't work. And again, your responsibility. If you've said to your child, you need to get all this schoolwork done before lunch because it's a piddly amount of work and there's no reason it can't get done before lunch, and yet they don't bother to have it done by lunch, if there is no consequence, then they're not following that rule. And chances are, no matter how beautiful your plan is, you will not get your children to follow it and participate with you in it. So we've got to have consequences. All this hinges on you being the parent. If your child didn't do 2 hours worth of schoolwork in a 3-hour period of time, chances are something is distracting them. So an easy consequence for that is you take the something away, the phone or whatever. But even better yet, why let them have access to any of that stuff until after the work is done? Then you can give it to them. Now it's not a punishment. Now it's a reward. This works much better for most kids. All right, supper time and evenings should also be loosely planned. I know supper doesn't always get done at the same time, but how it's going to get done and who and when it's going to get cleaned up from should be planned out. And also, the time between supper and bedtime should have somewhat of a plan. Don't forget that bedtime is super important. I know you're sick of dealing with kids, you just want to sit down and relax, go let them evaporate. But if you need to go ahead and get them in a bath or a shower and headed to bed, again, nobody to do that but you. It's your job. Just keep in mind, once you have them in bed, now you get your me time, as long as you can stay awake. Once they're in bed and it's your time, don't just turn into a veg yourself. Plan your time a little bit. At least make a to-do list of things you should do so that you don't just get lost online or in your phone. It is very tempting, I know. Have a real conversation with a friend or a relative or a neighbor. Ask them how they're doing. Write down a list of books you'd like to read. Get them nearby so you can do it. Set up a personal prayer time. Do a little planning for the next day. All these things will make you feel much better than just wasting your time vegging as well. You know, schedules are like fences. They make us feel secure and they help us feel safe. Imagine a house with a front yard right up against a busy road. A young child will not play in the yard near the road. They will only play up next to the porch. But if you put a fence around that yard, then they use the entire yard and they play all over it and they never feel scared and they always feel safe. Fences don't wall us in. We can still see the whole view. We can talk to neighbors. We can come and go as we please. But somehow that structure makes us feel at home and safe. These are scary times for many of our kids, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Please give them structure and security so that they can continue to grow healthy life habits and learn that it's possible to adapt to any situation in a positive and uplifting way. God bless, and have a great, well-planned day.